Guess who's back?
Gonna stand.
Back again.
And what I intend to lead is a political revolt.
This prat's back. On your friends.
The Smoking Frog returns, and I intend to dissect his speech in this video. I'm going to point out a number of his false claims. I'm going to link everything he complained about to the promises made in his Leave EU video.
Really calling for, and what I intend to lead is a political revolt. Yes, a revolt. A turning of our backs on the political status quo. It doesn't work.
And where have we heard that before?
We're regulating our own businesses even more than they were as EU members. Brexit has failed.
Nothing in this country works anymore.
You'll benefit from better care provided by our NHS thanks to the reallocation of funds from the EU budget.
The health service doesn't work.
Controlled immigration will lead to reduced waiting times for you and your loved ones.
The roads don't work.
You and your family will benefit from a resurgent economy.
None of our public services are up to scratch.
Politicians, both local and national, will become more accountable.
We are in decline.
Especially those most damaged by EU policies, like farming, fishing, and industries like steel.
This will only be turned around with boldness.
So we're now gone from it'll all be turned around by Brexit, which you've seen in that advert, to now boldness. You've got to be bold in order to win big. It's nothing to do with Brexit. So what the did we vote for?
We will only recover our position through economic growth.
A more prosperous and safer future awaits us outside the EU. A vote to leave is a vote for a brighter future for you, your family, and your community.
Completely going back on everything in that video. A total pack of lies.
That will only come when we get away from just half a dozen multinationals dominating the thought of our politicians.
Here we go again with Nigel's conspiracies, something that I've done multiple videos on, links in the description. And again, he's reinforcing the view, it was never Brexit, it's now the multinationals. There's always someone to blame with Nigel.
And allowing real entrepreneurship to flourish.
You and your family will benefit from a resurgent economy led by new and flourishing small businesses following the removal of burdensome EU regulations and red tape.
So we're very, very much on the side of the little guy and woman.
And saying that whilst his party is financed by two millionaires, Aaron Banks and Richard Tice, and it's a limited company, so he can pick and choose who comes in and out of his party.
We're very much on the side of creating growth.
And yet all major monetary organisations that research economics are saying it's been nothing but damage. The IMF have come out and said the UK is going to shrink, the only economy to shrink in the G7 in 24. The OBR, the ONS, the OECD have all said that business investment has downgraded since 2016 in the UK. And that dwelling investment in the G7, we're at the bottom. And it doesn't end there. The OBR, the ONS, the OECD have said that trade volume has been down and not recovered. What you'll sometimes hear from people like Nigel and Richard Tice is that trade is normally up. This is actually down to inflation and gas being sold because there's no gas coming out of Russia. We've capitalised on that. And according to Bloomberg, well, we would be 4% ahead if we'd stayed in the EU. They're not the people of business, they are disaster capitalists. And to all those forecasts, well, this is what the former leader of the Rejoining EU party had to say about it when confronted.
Bloomberg's, the Reuters, they all said...
OBR.
Right, the OBR, what? Is that like one of the worst forecasting organisations we've got that's never
IMF.
Accurate? Again,
Reuters.
always wrong.
Goldman Sachs.
They said, let's take the city, they said 75,000 jobs will be lost in the City of London.
Can't defend his position about the economy or what all these financial institutions are saying about it, so he starts yabbering on about the City of London. We're still not done.
We're very much on the side of ending the poisoning of our education system.
Excess funding that would otherwise be sent to Brussels could also be directed to education, meaning better prospects for your children.
I've got so much more to show you as well, but have a listen to this after all that damning evidence and the video that I've shown you.
We are unashamedly patriotic. We believe that it's right to put the interests of British people first. We believe Brexit needs to be implemented properly, and we are going to be the voice of opposition. And I tell you what, I've done it before, I'll do it again. I'll surprise everybody.
Maybe the biggest surprise would be that he starts telling the truth about the mess that he's created. And Gemma Forte summed up everything about that advert perfectly on Jeremy Vine.
Video, look it up, right, on YouTube, and it's like, ooh, if you vote Brexit, everything's going to be like living in a spa, like Utopia. You'll be straight to the front of the queue in the NHS. Is that the one with the spa in it? Yeah, pretty much.
I saw that video. That's a comedy video now, isn't it? The one where you say
your
hospitals
food
will be empty.
Will be low. Yeah, hospitals will be empty.
But I suppose that's advertising, right?
Is we know whoever wins, taxes will remain high. The highest tax burden since 1948.
And the reason for the tax revenues being up? It's the damage of Brexit. Have a listen to this.
Reputable forecasters, analysts pretty much agree that Brexit has had a negative economic effect on the British economy. And it was a consequence of the decision that the government took, that they wanted to take back as much control as possible, and they were going to sacrifice some economic activity as a result of that. And it's best for the government just to be open and straightforward about that decision, I think.
And from there, the facts kept on falling to the wayside as he continued to make up stuff throughout his speech.
2.4 million people this Conservative government have allowed to settle in the UK in the course of the last 2 years.
Essentially, what he said there is false. The official statistics show that 1.2 million people arrived in the UK in the year ending December 23, which projected over 2 years makes 2.4 million. But it is correct to say that they've all settled. Many have arrived on temporary work visas, for example, students and workers on contracts. The other thing that the numbskull seems to want to completely ignore is the fact that 600,000 Brits have left the UK this year. Year before, 500,000. On top of that, we have a low birth rate of 1.56, and in order to replace that, we need between 400 and 500,000 immigrants coming into the UK to make up those numbers. All those facts, doesn't want to hear them.
We have to build a new house every 2 minutes just to accommodate those that are legally coming in to Britain.
It's not really clear where these stats come from. What is clear is that we do need about 400,000 homes a year to be built, and we're only having 260,000. Part of the reason for that slow build rate is down to Brexit. We've lost a large number of workers who've gone back to the EU because the pound is now weaker, and on top of that, it seems that a large part of the population don't want them here. And then he starts slagging off the country by suggesting it's in decline, which is interesting because according to the Brexit video you watched, it should be prospering.
And these are all symptoms of a country that actually is in decline. We're in economic decline in relative terms. Oh, sure, we're doing better than our former partners in the European Union, but we're massively behind America and many other parts of the world.
As usual, Nigel is playing fast and loose with the truth. He's very much selecting certain key statistics. So quarter and quarter, he would be correct. But if you look at it all over a year, and in the statistics I showed earlier, you would see that the UK is behind the Eurozone in growth. And on a final note, Donald Trump was brought up.
Okay. Donald Trump's conviction made no difference to me at all, and the whole thing was a complete kangaroo court from start to finish, utterly ludicrous. One looks at what Clinton and various other presidents have done. I mean, the fact that he even came to trial, I think it's a travesty. I've now no doubt he'll win the presidential election.
In my other video, you'll see that the statistics are not corresponding to what Nigel's saying, but also neither is his facial expression. Have a watch of this.
But
look at that grimacing face. As well as the stuttering. Trump's conviction has cost him the swing vote by about 30 to 50%, which means he can't win. After all of that, after those video clips inserted with his speech, after all the lies and the fact-checking I've done, I've got to say I'm feeling very much like Fight Club.
We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't. We're slowly learning that fact. We're very, very pissed off.
I'd love to know your thoughts, and I'd love to know if you agree with me about that quote from Fight Club. And on a further note, I'd like to say a big thank you to all of my Patreon and YouTube supporters who keep this channel going and growing. Thank you for your support. If you'd like to help the channel get to 100 members, please click the link in the description. Once again, thanks for listening. Bye for now.